Hey there, e-commerce Fastlane listeners. I want to take a quick moment and give a shout out to an amazing sponsor, Absolute Web. Now, if you're looking for a powerhouse team to take your Shopify store to the next level, then look no further. Absolute Web is a full-service design and e-commerce development agency. They've been pushing the boundaries of what's possible on Shopify for over 2 decades. Now, whether you need a highly customized design that truly sets your brand apart, a complex integration to kind of streamline your operations, or even a complete site implementation from the ground up, Absolute Web has got you covered. Now, they have an in-house team of UI and UX designers. They have architects. They really are the go-to all-in-one solution for e-commerce brands that really want results and they want them now. And get this, if you're currently on another platform and you're considering to make the switch to Shopify, the experts at Absolute Web have deep experience in migrations too. They'll make the process smooth and painless, and you can start reaping all the benefits of being on Shopify. So if you're ready to build, optimize, or even scale a high-converting e-commerce storefront, head on over to absoluteweb.com and you can learn more about their extensive technical and creative e-commerce services. That's absoluteweb.com. And now back to the show.
You're listening to E-commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company, powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
Welcome back to E-commerce Fastlane. I'm your host, Steve Hutt. Thanks so much for tuning in today. There's so many podcasts out there to choose from, and I truly appreciate the fact that you're picking today's episode. You're going to gain a lot of insights and a lot of knowledge, not just with e-commerce, but today we're going to focus a little more on your Amazon business. If you've not expanded into that channel yet, I think you're going to open your mind about the size of Amazon and the fact that, your brand is likely being hijacked a bit. If you're not already on Amazon, just query your own brand name right now, and you'll see people are probably paying for ads and selling a competing product at a cheaper price. So the idea of getting into Amazon can be overwhelming for people a little bit, saying, I'm not sure how I can compete. But today we're going to learn a lot from Kusha Kavandi, and he is actually the founder of a company called Kazam, and you're at gokazam.com. What's interesting though, he has a ton of experience with Amazon. He's had multiple, the 7- and 8-figure companies, taken multiple exits. He really gets it. He's got a lot of expertise. He's really doubling down now with Kazam. It's an AI-based tool. It really is helping brands really transform how Amazon advertising is happening, both the campaign optimization and just end of the day, how do you get more profitable and how do you grow your organic rankings and improvements kind of from within Amazon? And then how does the paid acquisition, the paid ads all work? It's very interesting. I know we're going to unpack a lot of insights about how you can scale a brand on Amazon. If you're not there, we're definitely going to sell you on the concept that you need to be there, at least in a limited catalog, to learn about the reach that you can get with Amazon, because they own a lot of market share. So, hi Kusha, welcome to E-commerce Fastlane.
Awesome, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. It's interesting about Amazon, doing a tiny bit of research kind of before we're kind of recording today, and like some of the stats, and you probably have the direct numbers on this, but I learned that it says that, about almost 38% of the US e-commerce spend last year was through Amazon, and they believe that in 24 is going to go by another 11% up. So it's almost like a 48% is the estimated of total retail. The spend is being done on Amazon. Even Walmart only has 7%. So just what's your take on the physical size of Amazon and why you're kind of putting your flag in the sand to want to help people grow and scale in that market?
Yeah, Amazon, I've heard crazy stats like 1 out of 2 purchases through the internet or through Amazon, and may even be higher. I feel like every year that number just keeps climbing because people are just so used to Amazon Prime. They love getting that free 2-day shipping. It's so hard for e-commerce sellers and Shopify sellers to compete with that free 2-day shipping option for Prime members. And in many cases now, I'm ordering products myself as a consumer and getting it same day for free.
Right.
So it's really, really hard to compete with that. And then, so as a result, because of the trust in the platform and in the speed of delivery and just the ease of just browsing and finding, the best price products for what you're looking for, Amazon is definitely should be a part of everyone's strategy. Whether you're somebody who's a D2C seller and you haven't yet expanded to Amazon, or you're somebody who has an idea and you want to, get your, feet wet into e-commerce, Amazon's a great place to start. I've launched brands starting with Amazon FBA because Amazon does most of the heavy lifting. They take care of the fulfillment, the customer service, the storage, the returns. They handle a lot of the heavy lifting, so you can focus mostly on product and marketing.
Yeah. This is lovely. What we should do is maybe let my listeners know a little bit about your backstory a bit, because it's so interesting that everyone's got a story and everyone has to start at some point, and they kind of work through their career and move that guidepost, so to speak, kind of along the journey a bit. And so can you talk a bit about these businesses that you've started, kind of the concept around them, and then eventual exits, and then why we have finally decided to really, the last year and a half or so, you've been really working on building the Kazam product?
Yeah, absolutely. I started over a decade ago. I've always been in the health and wellness space. I was a personal trainer and health club manager, managed gyms and whatnot in Southern California. And came across some research at the time on something called blood flow restricted exercise, which really caught my eye. And I hadn't seen any products on the market that were for practical application. There were some medical type devices that were out there, but nothing that was, really for practical use in the gym. A lot of the bodybuilders were using wrist wraps and knee wraps to do this blood flow restricted exercise, which is a form of exercise that lets you basically, you could consider it maybe a type of a biohack that helps you gain muscle while lifting lighter weights.
I see.
And so I decided, I'm going to create a product for this. I didn't know anything about e-commerce at the time, but I had met some interesting e-commerce entrepreneurs who worked out at the gym that I had been managing, and started getting a sense of, how to build this product and the logistics around it. But I didn't know anything about, Shopify was not really big back then. And so the first place that we decided to start, my wife said, Amazon FBA might be a good place to start. She had done some research, and that was where we decided we were going to basically, kickstart the product and launched it. And so we started selling, a dozen units here and there. And then that started slowly growing every month to thousands of units and becoming a full-time real business over the course of a year. And then, we ended up scaling that brand. And then we eventually ended up exiting that brand in 2020. And then separately from that, I ended up creating another brand that was for a type of massage gun, competitor to Theragun. It was called Vi, and scaled that to 8 figures within about 12 months of launching it, and then exited that as well. And then after that, created a portfolio of variety of health and wellness brands, and rolled that up and sold that in 2021. And then since then, I ended up acquiring a brand and also launched some new products as well. And been working on that, as well as acquired a stake in a marketing agency called Launch Titans, where it's a full service digital agency that helps with, cold acquisition funnels as well as with Amazon. And I saw a need in about the last year and a half because of all these fees that Amazon has been increasing. They've had a lot of fees, fulfillment fees, referral fees, long-term storage fees. Now they've added inbound placement fees, which are crazy, can be insanely high. Like in the past, it would be fairly easy to send your inventory to Amazon, at least, you may not be able to send all your inventory to where you want. Like with Amazon, you can't say, okay, I want to send all my inventory to this FBA warehouse. You never really had that level of control, but at least they didn't charge you for it. You could send it to a warehouse and they wouldn't charge you extra fees. Now it's like, if you want to send it, they give you limited options, and they might say, look, if you're going to send it, you can send it to this one location for like $1,000, or you can send it to these 5 locations, which is like so impractical, especially if you're sending it by ocean or LTL, or, it's very hard to send like one part in here, one part in there. It just doesn't really make sense to do that. So you get kind of strong-armed into paying all these inbound placement fees. Now they have short-term storage fees. So if you don't have enough inventory in stock, they're charging you fees. And then on top of all that, of course, PPC costs have just been rising year after year. And that's, increased competition mostly, and as well as just, I'm sure, Amazon just raising their fees. So that led me to start to explore creating software solutions to help reduce some of those costs, those burdens. And that led me to Kazam. And Kazam is the first type of PPC software that actually reduces your ACoS, your advertising cost of sales, as your products start to rank higher organically. So the software, the AI, actually tracks your position on Amazon, your Amazon SEO, your Amazon rankings, and then it will basically start to reduce your bids and some of your placements based on how well it's already doing. So that way you're not paying for clicks that you may have gotten otherwise since you're already ranking organically.
Right. What's interesting about AI now, I think, and you hit the nail on the head. It's just like, how in real time can we adjust the PPC, the cost per click, to drive some awareness to your product in Amazon, but then trying to figure out where you're already placed organically. So do you walk us through a bit of that? Because I don't think there's many people like you that are solving that particular problems. I think overall, Amazon likes to tout the fact that they have this kind of, easy kind of self-serve model that is, no different than Meta or TikTok advertising or Pinterest or whatever, and set a budget and off it goes. Even Google PMax set it and, we're going to take care of you, kind of black box kind of thing. And can you talk about the differences between what's going on there and then kind of what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so you kind of have like 3 different paths, right? As an Amazon seller, you could self-service it. And, a lot of sellers I've unfortunately seen, especially many clients or agency, when we take them on, they come to us and we find that they like set it and forget it with their ads. Like they think that's an effective strategy. They turn on these auto campaigns and then they never look back. They don't touch it. They leave it. And that's certainly a strategy, but that's not really going to yield you very good results. In many cases, you'll be upside down on those types of ads, or best case, you may not be spending that much, so you may not be getting a lot of traffic. You may be profitable or a very, very low level of spend on those campaigns, but you're just not going to be scaling anything up. You're not going to get the visibility or the rankings or the traffic. The way one big part, and I think one growing part of Amazon's algorithm, is taking into account Amazon PPC. So every sale you get through a click from PPC, like if someone went to Amazon and they searched for dog leash and they saw your sponsored ad and clicked it and bought, you're going to start to rank higher for dog leash now organically.
Right.
So people over time, they might see you listed twice in the sponsored section towards the top, as well as, hopefully towards the top of the page in the organic listings as well. So first group would be the set and forget it. The second group would be somebody who's using, let's say, a media buyer to manage it for them. Because it is a very involved, if you're going to do it correctly, it's a very involved process. Like what you'd want to do is create some auto campaigns that you can maybe seed some keywords from, because auto campaigns, there is a search term section that will actually show you the actual customer search term that ended up leading to a sale. Even though that in the auto campaign itself, you're not targeting keywords specifically, you're just targeting, kind of broad general categories of like substitutes, loose match, close match, that sort of thing. But you can seed some keywords and then you can extract those and you can create some single keyword campaigns and you can separate that more granularly into broad match, phrase match, exact match, etc., to further target and get more granular with your targeting on those PPC campaigns. And then further from that, what a good media buyer would do is do some keyword research through some software tools like Helium 10 or whatever it may be, to use basically a strategy for figuring out what are your most relevant keywords. Relevance, the main takeaway from that is that you don't want to just go after the highest traffic keywords. You want to go after the keywords that have high traffic, but you have the biggest edge because you're most relevant for those specific keywords compared to your competition. And also the keywords where you are hedged best with the number of ratings and reviews. Like if you have a new product with 20 reviews, you're not really going to do that well going on against a keyword where all the competition has 10,000 reviews and a higher star rating. So the keyword research is critical. You have to do that well. And then from that keyword research, you then want to launch a series of manual campaigns and maybe even product target campaigns where you're targeting certain ASINs, different competitor listings. And then from there, what you want to do is, like I said, you'd want to extract those customer search terms that convert and turn those into separate campaigns. But also, you want to be looking at what's not converting. And you may want to extract those search terms and keywords that are not relevant and then turn them into negative exact matches as well. So these are all types of things a media buyer would do, which is much better than the self-service set and forget it strategy. But again, this can be very expensive. This could cost you $4,000 or $5,000 a month or more to have a media buyer manage your ads. Maybe less if you're a smaller company, but it's going to be in the thousands. Like it's not going to be like $100 a month to have someone manage your ads. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So that's where we come in. We're a solution where, for as little as like a couple $100 a month, you can have an AI-based software that's going to act like a media buyer, where it's going to create all the necessary campaigns. It's going to determine the relevant keywords to launch, and it's going to continually optimize. And it's going to do some of the things that I mentioned, where it's going to find those negative keywords and tag those negative keywords every week or every day. It's going to find those search terms that are converting and turn them into manual campaigns. It's going to do a lot of these things that are way too monotonous to waste your time with manually. It's going to do it for you. And then on top of that, we recently added a feature where you can now have your own personal AI assistant. So when you log in, you can actually chat with your own AI assistant, and you can not only get like insights about the performance of your campaigns, you can ask it questions just like you would a media buyer, but you can also gain recommendations from it. You can say, hey, what keywords would you recommend I go after for this ASIN? Or what other product targets do you recommend I go after? And it can also execute it for you. You can say, hey, can you go ahead and do that for me? Can you reduce the bids on these campaigns? Can you reduce the budget on these? And it can execute tasks for you as well.
Wow. That's very cool. I'm actually on your website right now. Just taking a look at the pricing. Yeah. And like I said, for a couple $100 a month, it's just a really good starting point. It just scales up from there. There's, the startup plan, scale up plan, then it goes into the professional plan. And depending on where your business is, your kind of maturity and your complexity, currently, it sounds like there's a really decent, good starting point. So the three different options are set it and forget it, hiring a media buyer, which definitely would have the skill and maybe using some tools and some manual processes and kind of like knee deep in the weeds, but you're paying for that expertise. And where you have built a more scalable solution, saying, hey, let the AI kind of take care of it for you based on some guardrails of budgets and kind of recommendation engine, I suppose, built into it, and saying, hey, we believe based on the size of your market and your business and the organic reach that we believe you have, and the budgets you're willing to spend and what an acquisition cost is reasonable based on your margin settings, then I think that just the tool just kind of goes off and does what it needs to do, like all day long.
Exactly. Yeah. You set those guardrails and you specify what you want your target ROAS or ACoS to be, and then it'll do the rest from there. I mean, it's really designed to be very simple. So it has a range of features. It's designed to be very simple from the standpoint of like, if you're somebody who's not very technical and you just want to go and pick your target SKU or your ASIN that you want to launch some ads for, you just pick the product you want to launch ads for. You set those bid guardrails, like minimum, maximum bid,
right,
and then your target ACoS or ROAS. And that's it. It'll create all the campaigns necessary from there. You can launch it. But if you're somebody who's a little more advanced, you have more experience, you want to get more granular, you can get more granular. You can target, you can specify brand names, competitors, you can specify other ASIN targets or keywords that you want to specify. You can actually even do some seasonality and day parting in there. There's a lot of granular features in there, and we're always expanding those features as well. But you can get very, very granular for someone who's more advanced.
Yeah, this is lovely. So let's get into a case study or two. And hopefully I don't put you on the spot here, but I mean, clearly there's brands, including your own, and even through the agency now, where you're kind of eating your own dog food, so to speak, where you're using your tool because it's a scalable, workable system that's actually working and profitable. And so, is there anything we can talk about publicly about, hey, there was this brand over here, they were doing it manually, or they didn't really know how to, or weren't willing to go down the media buyer route, and they certainly didn't have the bandwidth to take care of the kind of set it and forget it and do it themselves, but they chose to go with Kazam? And are you able to talk about the upsides of what happened after onboarding and then maybe a process over, a few months or so?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a brand recently who was just getting gouged by, a media buyer who I don't even know if they were even really managing the ads. Honestly, the performance was like 120% ACoS. They were so upside down. Oh. And then, this poor seller I don't think really had an understanding of what was going on. And so I looked at the account there and I was like, wow, this is like really upside down. And so the software, once we, basically turned off everything that was on in there, and then turned on the Kazam software for their SKUs, they went from being like 120% ACoS to being at like basically 30% ACoS. It didn't happen overnight. I mean, first it was like 80% and 60% and right, at basically the same level of spend. So it basically turned things around where they're actually profitable and preventing them from, they were about to like maybe shut down that part of their business.
Wow.
Because they were so upside down. They were losing so much money. So yeah, I was happy to see that it really turned things around for them and gave them kind of a renewed hope that they could scale things up as a business and, not have to shut that down. So
Yeah.
That was definitely good. But yeah, we have several case studies like that where some, not as drastic. Some of them where they're just not really scaling, not doing anything. And then they use the software and it starts to scale and actually get traffic, get impressions. Because that's the other thing too. Another part of the software is like, if you have some keywords with like low impressions, this is a very monotonous thing to do as a media buyer or self-service, is like actually go and continually raise the bids for keywords where you're not really getting maybe enough impressions to try to start seeding and expanding and scaling. So that's where it can be very helpful as well. If you're a brand that's trying to really scale up, you're trying to get more exposure, you're trying to get more traffic and just see where you're relevant, especially in the beginning, because everything's always changing at the beginning. You're launching a product and you're launching these ads, but at the same time, your listing is getting more traction, it's getting more reviews. So as your review and overall ratings count increases, you're going to start seeing better conversion on your ads, and you're going to start seeing maybe conversion on certain keywords that maybe didn't convert as well before. So it's kind of a dynamic game that improves over time as your listing becomes more optimal.
Yeah. This is more of a personal question that I get a few times with some of the businesses that I used to manage. They knew the benefits of being on Amazon, but they also knew that the social proof that went along with it's kind of like this flywheel effect that happens where if you do have a quality product that people love, and and Amazon definitely has a process to go out and get 5-star ratings and reviews and stuff. People can have POP or some things kind of in the box and stuff as part of their quote unquote warranty or extended warranty offers, and trying to get people to go back to Amazon and review. What's your take on that, where an early stage brand that starts and they do have a quality product, but they want to get traction quicker? Like, how do people get more reviews quicker, or are they just forced to kind of like it truly is a sales game where you have to get out there and maybe almost at a net loss a little bit or a break even point with your software to get the product out into the market and getting feedback about improvements on it or how you're marketing it or brand positioning, whatever, getting it in people's hands and really trying to get those reviews? I don't know the percentage of how many of total sales on Amazon, what the percentage of reviews are, but it seems to me, even me as a consumer, when I go to Amazon, that's kind of one of the things I look for. Like, it's 4 stars plus minimum as a filter. Are they a prime? Because I want it today or tomorrow. And then from there, it's just like I'm a consumer trying to kind of get the lay of the land. And there's lots of options out there. I just want your feedback about like, what are you recommending brands now if reviews are a really important thing to want to get? And it seems to be almost the determining factor for a lot of brands, or a lot of buyers, I mean.
Yeah, I think in today's, marketplace with Amazon, I think it's kind of a longer product development cycle. It used to be in the past that you could just launch with something private label right away and just focus on rankings and reviews, and that would be enough.
Right.
But I just feel like that's not it's not a good long-term strategy, because that always inevitably becomes a race to the bottom without some type of a moat. So instead, I recommend looking for those gaps in the marketplace. If you're looking at a category or a sub-niche and you see that, hey, you know what, like everyone's selling the same thing, but I'm going to, based on the negative reviews or based on the 3-star reviews, especially the 3 stars tend to be more honest, you might find some gold nuggets of ideas for design improvements. And just making a small design improvement, doesn't have to be anything crazy, might be enough for you to start taking some market share away, and very inexpensive in terms of molds and tooling. And then, you'd want to hire an engineer to create those manufacturing files to provide that factory to customize the product for you for those specs, which is not cheap, but shouldn't be too expensive if you're, minimizing kind of and making it more like an MVP, that minimum viable product,
right,
in terms of what you're doing. I really recommend doing that and spending some time. So it might take you, a good 3 to 6 months to really think through, what am I going to launch, before you go out there and do that. And then also at the same time that you're designing something that's differentiated, you're at the same, just like you mentioned, you want to think through the packaging as well. What does the user experience look like with your product packaging? Mm-hmm. Don't just do some plain boring packaging. Think about making it a little bit nicer to enhance the user experience. Think about what type of, inserts and like customer flows that you want to integrate into that. How are you going to interact with that customer potentially? Are you going to have some type of warranty registration or some type of survey or something to connect with them?
Right.
Something like that, is going to help you prevent those negative reviews, as well as you're just going to enhance the experience to get positive reviews. So if you have all that stuff in place, you did the legwork, you might be sufficient with just doing Vine, because Amazon knows that the reason why Vine, which is like the free review service that they offer through Amazon, the reason why it's capped at 30 is because they have so much research to show that like that threshold of 30 increases conversion a ton. So if you go from 0 to 30 reviews, like once you get to 30 for most categories, that could give you a big edge. Obviously, if your competition's all in the thousands, it's going to take a while before you start taking a ton of market share away. But again, you need to think about, what's my overall strategy here? Am I trying to compete with these other sellers who have 10,000 reviews? Or am I trying to compete in a sub niche where, it's kind of more blue ocean, where like, I'm actually a little bit differentiated from them. And over here in this sub niche, there's actually only sellers in this sub niche only have 100 reviews. Now you're a lot more competitive. Now you're only maybe a few months away from really taking away the majority of market share and really winning and dominating in that category. And then from there, your strategy for growth may be just launching more SKUs like that, launching a variety of other products like that. I think it's very difficult and very expensive to go after these super, commoditized, high traffic products. Like once you've heard it, it's kind of like investing. Like everyone's like talking about, buy gold. It's like, well, it's kind of too late for that. Like you're paying the highest price now. Once it's become mainstream and people are talking about it, it's a little bit late. So you want to go where the puck is going to be, kind of like Wayne Gretzky said. You want to skate to where the puck's going to be, not where it is.
Right.
So you want to be thinking about. That's why I always tell people, you got to like stay in your circle of competence. If you like, I always stay in health and wellness because that's been my life for like the last 20 years. So if your niche is more in like kids' toys and things like that, stay in that niche. Don't try to venture out too much from that. Try to stay in that area that you know very, very well and stick with it for a long period of time, because over time, you're going to gain a deeper understanding of the customer that your competitor will never have. And that's going to allow you to create better marketing, create better products, more thoughtful design improvements. You got to always try to stay in that circle of confidence as much as possible. But yeah, in terms of reviews, in the beginning, Vine might be sufficient. I know a lot of people use friends and family, which I know obviously Amazon doesn't want you doing, but I know a lot of people do that. They'll use, friends and family for a few reviews to get it going. But like you talked about, having product inserts and those types of things can also help, especially if you have a product that is kind of a higher volume product, it'll start to convert pretty fast. I mean, if you get that thing rolling and it starts selling, 100 units a day, you might start getting, 30 reviews a month or more. You might get 100 reviews a month, or, then it starts adding up. That adds up fast. And also Amazon's made it easy for people to leave a rating without a review as well. You can there's different tools you can use to send rating requests through Seller Central, which is all, terms of service compliant. You can send a ratings request to customers, and you can specify parameters of, I only want to send this to customers who, have left positive seller feedback, or anybody who's a repeat buyer, not just any customer, anyone who's bought more than once, or let's skip anyone who has basically gotten a refund for the order, because obviously we know they probably didn't like it. I know there's a lot of tools that will automate that process and do that for you, so you can get a lot of ratings. So your overall rating count will grow over time as well doing that. But yeah, I would think about, in terms of like, when you're picking the product, try not to go into categories where you need 1,000 reviews or 10,000 reviews just to get a little bit of sales. Try to go into categories where you can have a lower threshold. Like, and generally those thresholds are like, if somebody has like less than 100 reviews, then I would say you really need like 30 reviews to be competitive. If they have 900 reviews, you just need 100 reviews to be competitive, because in the consumer's eyes, whether they have 200 or 900, as long as you're over 100, you've kind of exceeded that threshold. And if they're at 2,000 reviews, then you just need at least 1,000 reviews to be competitive.
Right.
So there's those psychological thresholds that are not quite as high as you would think to be competitive in those different niches. But yeah, I would also encourate people to think about their expectations. So if you're entering a category where everyone has like 1 or 2 stars, you don't necessarily have to have 4.5 stars to be successful. You could win just by having 3.5 or 4 stars. Not to say that you want to launch a junk product knowingly. Obviously, you want to do everything you can to, launch the best product. But in many cases, there's just nothing you can do. There's, customers in certain categories that are just ruthless. And no matter how good the product is, they're going to give you 1-star reviews. Or maybe you're selling electronics, and like, no matter what you do, there's always going to be some type of issue with electronics inevitably over time. So, there's always going to be that. So you just have to set your expectations of like, let's not get emotional about this. And instead look at this from a logical standpoint that all my competitors have 2 stars. I just need 3 or 4 to be successful. I don't need 5 stars.
Right. Now, what do you say to people that are not on Amazon yet? They have their Shopify store. They're dabbling with some internationalization. Maybe they're an American brand. They're now shipping to Canada because they've got the duty and tax compliance thing figured out with Shopify Markets. They've turned something on in Shopify. And so they're kind of going down that journey and they're thinking about internationalization, but they also know that 1 out of 2 purchases are being done on Amazon. And when we chatted about this just before recording, just like, type your brand name into Amazon.com right now and see if people are bidding against it or what are people doing, if you're not there. But I just want to know what your mindset is around, I've intentionally chosen as a brand to not be on Amazon yet because I'm not unsure. What do you say to those people? Since you own an agency and you own this software now, what do you tell them is saying like, what's the missed opportunity here?
Yeah, I mean, there's such a halo effect that goes to Amazon. Like if you're somebody, especially if they're driving a decent amount of ad spend outside of Amazon to their, their own D2C site and their own e-commerce, there's at least probably a 25%, overflow to Amazon that they're just losing, that these customers would have bought. They saw the ad, they went to Amazon to go do product research because, I think I've heard like 50% of product research happens on Amazon. They go and try to research the reviews on that product. Because a lot of people don't trust the reviews on someone's website. They know that those can be controlled. So they go to Amazon to see, okay, what do the actual reviews say on Amazon about the product? Or they'll go and look at the competition, try to compare and say, okay, what does the competition look like? What are the other options? And they want to compare it and contrast it against your product. So there's a huge missed opportunity by not being on there. You're losing a lot of like sales. And I've seen in many cases, some campaigns like for Meta or Google that you may have thought were unprofitable. When you actually factor in the Amazon overflow and the overall impact to your whole business, with that halo effect, those campaigns are actually probably profitable.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be turning off campaigns or turning off ad streams and traffic that you think are, just looking at the direct ROAS, you're like, oh, I'm losing money. But it's like, well, no, actually, if you look at the overall picture, you're actually making money.
Yeah.
It's actually profitable. So that's the big missed opportunity there for sure.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So let's talk about the product itself. I mean, obviously, it's clearly solving a problem right now, for those that don't want to set it and forget it. And for those that don't want to afford a media buyer, you have a great solution for that. I think, we've sold people on the concept that are listening now. If you're not on Amazon, you need to be there because people are fighting against your brand right now. How do you differentiate? You've talked about how slight modifications, having a better MVP, and not worrying about the reviews and stuff. So we have a lot of kind of like checks and balances set now, I think, for success. Where do we see the Kazam product moving forward? Like, is there a public roadmap or is there anything we can talk about publicly and saying, well, here's where we are today, but here's where we're kind of headed next just so people get warm and fuzzy about what's the iteration happening over time with the platform?
Yeah, the recent iteration was adding, in the last few weeks, we added this AI assistant on the front end that you can actually, correspond with your own personal AI assistant, which is all through, using OpenAI.
Right.
And it works very, very well. I mean, just, it's like talking to a media buyer. Like I said, it's almost like the same experience where you can really glean the insights of the campaign performance, but you also can tell it, hey, you know what, can you execute these different tasks for me? And especially when you have dozens of campaigns, like that would take forever to do manually. So to have the AI do all of that for you, like simultaneously is really nice. But also, in terms of just the current features and where we're headed, when I designed the software, I actually designed it with like a dozen other features that I didn't want to launch from day one because I don't want to make it confusing.
Right.
So I launched with, this quick launch theme, and the quick launch theme is really you go in, you select the SKU that you want to advertise, and you set those parameters, and then you just click enable, and it'll start launching all the various campaigns necessary for that SKU. I've recently added another feature where you can migrate campaigns. So if you already had a bunch of campaigns in there, you can actually migrate your old campaigns in, and then you can set those same parameters. Like if you want to keep them going, but you're like, hey, I need something, I need a software to manage it for me in terms of optimizations daily and weekly, keep an eye on it and run it. You can do that now. You can bring those in. You can migrate those campaigns. In the future, I have a bunch of other themes of different things that you'll see in the dashboard. Like if you want to focus more on rankings and you want to rank products, we actually do already have a feature in there now where you can boost certain keywords and it'll basically spike the bids on those specific keywords for a short duration to help, bolster your rankings if you're trying to really focus on keyword rankings for that time frame. But we will have other themes of campaigns where you can click, basically go into a theme and you can say, I want to launch this SKU to specifically rank for these certain keywords, or I want to really target this competition, these specific, competitors, or maybe you want to play defense. I want to have some defensive campaigns against some competitors. So there's going to be a variety of other themes in the future that we'll launch. But as it stands now, the software is actually very, very robust. I also am working on just adding more, just kind of taking the features we already have and expanding on them a little further, like the day parting, and adding some more automation to that, and having the software just kind of scan and figure out when's the best time to potentially day part and provide recommendations, that sort of thing.
What's interesting too with Shopify, I know in their app store or even under channels in the Shopify admin, I think there's ways of adding on the Amazon channel, implying that, hey, your source of truth is your direct-to-consumer brand. We have this, range of SKUs available. And then I guess either with a channel or a channel-partnered app, you're able to push those over to Amazon. It doesn't do what you do, but what's your thought process around kind of either channels built into Shopify to get out to these marketplaces, or apps that can, quote-unquote, connect to your product catalog versus kind of like how you connect to Amazon directly? So I just want to kind of understand the differences.
Yeah, so like with our app, Kazam, connects directly to Seller Central.
Right.
So, assuming you're a third-party seller, it will, launch those ads for you through your advertising dashboard. So that's all connected there. But those Shopify, there's a variety of Shopify integration. There isn't a native Amazon integration in Shopify. So if you wanted to, use, let's say, Amazon for fulfillment, for example. So every time you get a Shopify order, you could use Amazon like a third-party logistics.
Right.
So that'll get pushed through to Amazon to fulfill. There's just also third-party apps that will basically copy over your Shopify listings to Amazon.
Yeah, like an importer of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They'll import them in, and they'll even sync your inventory. I had, one client that does a lot of, they don't do FBA. So they do everything via fulfilled by Amazon on Amazon, and and they fulfill all their own website orders. They have their own warehouse, and so they use this Codisto app to basically not only list all their listings on Amazon. It automatically took all the Shopify listings and created all the necessary Amazon listings for them, but it also synced all that inventory so that all their FBM listings match the inventory levels and the information of their Shopify listings.
Right. Well, it's nice that there is that opportunity, though, and I agree. I just actually logged into my admin too because I've been a year and a bit away from Shopify. There really was an Amazon sales channel, and I see that it's no longer listed in my admin, and so clearly that the only way to do it is through a third-party connection to push those out. But in your particular case, it's just like, yeah, we don't have to worry about that. If you have a Seller Central account and you're already considering or are currently selling with Amazon, it's a matter of just connecting Kazam to your Seller Central account, giving approvals, and then following through exactly a little bit of hand holding. I just love how you have that option to help launch a couple campaigns early and to kind of get things going, get some traction, and saying, wow, okay, this is really cool. And or importing existing campaigns and saying, no, this is not working well, or this is not the way that our systems are set up for success. You're clearly upside down based on gross margin and and all the different kind of KPIs that you're tracking and giving people opportunities to enter the details in of their SKUs. I think it's very interesting that you have that option. So kudos to what you're building. It's really exciting.
Awesome, thank you.
So I guess just before we go, I understand that, we want to kind of some next steps for people listening and saying, hey, Amazon, I'm either currently there or I see value and hey, for a few $100s, I can actually get going on this platform and actually give it a whirl and see because literally people don't know what they don't know. It's clearly you need to be on Amazon. I'd say 95% of people that are listening, if you're not on Amazon, you should be, even on select SKUs. Put your brand in there and double check it and see who is there. It's a baked in audience that's massive. And so it makes sense to be there. And it sounds like Kazam is a great opportunity. What do you say is kind of next steps? Where do you want to send our listeners that want to learn more or any kind of a trial and these kind of offers?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to gokazam.com, we have a 7-day free trial. So if you just scroll down at the bottom of gokazam.com, you'll see the 3 different plans we have. The majority of people listening will probably fall into that starter plan, which is like less than $200 a month. Yep. And you get a 7-day free trial. And I mean, you're talking about for less than like $7 a day to have, basically the confidence of a media buyer running your ads 24/7 for you and monitoring them. So it's kind of a no-brainer from that standpoint. But if you're somebody who's like, you know what, I need a little bit more help. I need, some assistance with some engineering or product design or molds or tooling or, maybe helping me create some IP around my products. We can help with all that as well through our agency, LaunchTitans.com.
Okay.
Launch Titans specializes, again, like I said, in just kind of full service digital marketing. And so we can help with everything related to Amazon account management, but I also help, really specialize in giving some guidance and insights into just product development. If somebody's like, hey, I have this idea or I have this current product, how can we make it better? Maybe they don't know anything about engineering. They don't have any engineers. Like we have a team of engineers that can actually help create those manufacturing files and those, those CAD drawings and use to get those custom molds and tooling and fully customized products, as well as getting your potentially patents. And on Amazon, design patents, which are not super expensive and they don't generally take super, super long to get registered. You can take those design patents and enforce them yourself on Amazon through Amazon's friend registry program. So you can go in there, somebody's infringing on your design, you can go and you can file a takedown and
like a DMCA,
fairly easy. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you don't need to necessarily pay a fortune to a lawyer to go draft a cease and desist. So you can go do that yourself in a few minutes.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Well, this is lovely. I've learned a ton. I got a couple pages of notes. You can always tell a good episode when I have like tons and tons of notes. This is a great opportunity for everybody listening. So if you're not on Amazon or you don't feel it's very effective, today things are going to change. You got to try Kazam out with that 7-day trial. At least connect to your store, run a couple of the early stage campaigns you have there or import your existing campaigns. And let's just see what's going on. That first week, you're really going to open your mind about kind of what is available and what can happen. I know it takes some time, but at least you can see in the first week that actually we're going in the right direction by improving the campaigns or launching some great campaigns with some top selling SKUs. So I'll have all this in the show notes, and your landing page will be there too, ecommercefastlane.com/Kazam. That'll redirect back to your site, and we'll have all that in the show notes. And once again, thanks, Kusha, for coming on. I wish you continued success kind of in this, I'm going to say, a new venture. And thank you for putting your flag in the sand and wanting to be open and transparent, wanting to help businesses kind of, grow and scale and expand into Amazon. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. My pleasure. Have a great afternoon. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.